Welcome, everybody. Glad you're here. Please do keep yourself on mute until we do the Q&A, which will happen in about a half an hour. That all depends on your comments. Please do put your questions in the chat, and we'll try to get to them at the end of this time. So my guest today, if you didn't already get that, is William Dickinson. He's a business communication strategist, AI consultant, and marketing expert. He's got more than 27 years experience helping organizations communicate more effectively. William specializes in helping individuals and businesses, small and large, leverage new technology and certainly, obviously, AI to enhance human creativity, streamline operations, and develop smarter marketing and communication strategies. So I first met Will when he was essentially doing a webinar about AI and showing people how to do stuff. And I thought that he was really relatable and explained things in really easy terms, made sense. So I thought, well, why not share the wealth? So for the past couple of months, he and I have been developing this very new thing for me. I usually do hour-long interviews, and we're doing this 4-part series. All of the 4 parts are going to be talking about and demonstrating 4 different use cases. They don't necessarily build upon themselves. In other words, if you can be here tonight, great. And if you can't be at the next one, well, you'll get the recording, number 1. And number 2, even if you don't have the time to partake in that, and you listen to the 3rd one or the 4th, you'll hear common threads, but they all do stand on their own as well. So we're going to talk for half an hour or so, and talking, demonstrating, etc. And then we're going to open it up to live questions and answers. And take advantage of this, people, because it's not that often that you get an opportunity to get an expert to give you advice for free. So with that, let's get started. Okay.
Well, hello,
Will?
everybody. First, let me preface everything with this last week, I re-injured a rib. I had fallen and broken it approximately 8 months ago. And the other day I sneezed and I heard this pop, and
oh no,
it somehow re-injured itself. A sign of so many things, I guess, as we're getting older. Uh, anyway, I got a cough drop in my mouth, so I don't cough because it hurts a lot when I cough. So pardon if my speech seems a little bit weird. Just let me know if I need to repeat anything, and I'll be sure to slow down the meter as much as I can. That all said,
thank you for that.
what I'm looking for in this, as far as helping everybody from a leadership role, I want people to be engaged and involved. If you do have something you have a question about, please put it into the chat. If you need me to slow down, please tell me to slow down. If you need me to repeat something, please tell me to repeat something. We prefer that you use the chat mechanism for that. However, everybody has the individual ability to unmute. Everybody is muted right now, and we planned it this way on purpose so there wouldn't be a lot of background noise and chatter. And if you've ever been on these things before, you know that kids and dogs and everything else can come into the mix when people start not being
Absolutely.
muted. So here
Yeah.
we are, and starting. Today is a little bit of a different angle, and what we're looking at is, how does AI partner with us today? There's a lot of misinformation going on out there about what AI does and what it doesn't do and where the technology is at. So I thought we'd kind of start from that place. How do we make it a partner in our lives, whether it be individually or whether it be part of a business situation? First off, let me ask, everybody hearing me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you for the thumbs up, Cara. And Jason and Jean. Yes, please use the emojis as you're doing. Thank you for doing that. That's a great way to give feedback to myself and to Deborah as we're putting things together
Right.
and making sure that you can hear everything. Go ahead, Deborah.
I was just going to say there's going to be times when I might interrupt you and ask you a question. I might ask you to clarify, and or just poke some fun.
Well,
But
and
let
and it, as much as you and I have worked together and nobody else really knows me, yes, I'm kind of a smart aleck sometimes. I take myself not so seriously. I take life and business very seriously, but I'm much more of I'd rather have a smile on my face and joke around a little bit. So yes, please jab me a little bit, Deb. I'm ready for it.
Okay, all right. So let's first talk about resetting the mental model, and thinking about how, in general, do you look at the idea of using this tool as a thinking and strategic partner? How do you approach your mindset about that?
Well, I don't know if anybody's like me in this way, but I'm in my 60s and I've heard myself talk for 60 years now. So sometimes hearing an alternative perspective is really where it's at. Um, I use AI as a tool, just as a carpenter would use different hammers in their tool belt. AI is a tool that I use in a variety of ways, even as simple as going on, or having an email that I need to respond to that's got me emotionally worked up in some way. I'll say what I want to say, drop it into Chat GPT is the one I probably primarily use for that, and ask it to rewrite it in a kind, professional tone. Because I need to be able to respond fairly quickly and it'll get past my emotion. As you probably mostly know, it's a machine. Machines don't have emotions, although ChatGPT can be customized for each individual person. And so that's probably the first place that if anybody's getting into AI, going in and customizing it. Claude, you can customize. Chat GPT, you can customize. I haven't customized Gemini yet, but I'm pretty sure you can. Pardon me. And um, it's really an important factor. The memory is since July 9th was the latest update with Chat GPT. And so that's not that long ago, but basically it's moving so fast and evolving so fast that it becomes very difficult for people to keep up with what's going on. So I gave
Yeah,
that up a long time ago. I kind of run along with the idea that it's going to tell me what I want to know by just asking it. The hard part is, what do you ask? How do you ask? How do you get into
right.
it? Um, I use it for business. I use it for personal stuff. Um, I could probably say the only person I don't really use it with, well, friends like you, Deb, or people that have become my friends. I don't typically use it with. Um, I don't use it with my wife. And things of that nature. Although I can see a practical application if you're really PO'd at your better half. What a better way to write
Yeah,
something that doesn't have too much of an impact, or you can tell it what kind of impact that you want to have. And so that actually can help in many ways. So
got
I,
it.
I
Before you continue, just
sure.
1 second. It seems that everybody wants to not have their camera on, which is actually great. So, Howard Reed, may I ask you to, and also Vanessa, would you mind turning off your videos? That way people can concentrate more on what Will is saying and what he eventually will be showing you. Thank you so much. Oh, Howard, can you take
Think
down
he's
your
trying
video?
there. There he goes. Oh, he did it for a
No?
second. There we go.
There we go. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. It's just that when Will is going to demonstrate something, I think it'll be easier for everyone to see and not be distracted by everybody else. Okay, go ahead, Will. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So our session really can be headlined today by AI as a thinking partner. Um, how does it work in your life as a thinking partner? And what I'd like to do now is to ask you guys if you could summarize that in 5, 6 to 10 words. Put that in the chat, and let's see what kind of response we get and how people are using this. Waiting for people to write.
Yes. Um,
Yes, it
one
is
thing I
great
just
for creating templates.
Cool.
What kind
Formulas.
of formulas are you talking about, Maris?
I was just going to ask.
Oh, in
In
Excel,
Excel.
absolutely. Yeah.
Maris, teach me how to use it in Excel because for some reason I'm not getting good results. But maybe, Will, maybe you could explain that. I can't figure out why I'm not getting results that I necessarily trust. And actually, while people are writing in, let
I
me ask you,
will,
Will.
Deborah. I will definitely try to teach you. I'm learning myself, and it's fascinating
Okay.
and amazing.
It is fascinating, isn't it? Thanks, Maris,
Yeah.
for chiming in.
What one of the things that I want people to understand is this: when you put in your prompts and you get your answers, there are times when it just doesn't quite feel right. There's something not that just doesn't really make a lot of sense. I'm not talking about a full-blown hallucination. I'm talking about, yeah, I don't know if that really got what I want. What do you do with that? How do you go about reprompting? What should what criteria should you use in thinking about reprompting?
Well, AI works in context. So I would start thinking it from that point. Um, Reprompting is something that you could do now because it works off of a memory, and the memory, especially as of July 9th, has gotten pretty extensive, even for the free ones. There's different levels of the platform, as many of you might know. The first level is a free level. It gives you a certain amount of prompts that you can give to AI. And I think it's over a 24-hour period is how they're rating it now. I have
Mm-hmm.
a subscription base right now. Deb, you and I have different subscription bases. Um, and we
He's got the
talked
expensive one.
we talked about that just a little bit, and the advantage to them basically is more memory, more prompting, depending on how much you use it. If you're using it all the time, it's one platform, and I think on the free level, I think it's probably 25 to 35 prompts per day, and then on the next platform up, it's about 100. The next platform up, it might be 250, and the next tier above that, gosh, I think it's almost unlimited. That's an enterprise level. I don't have the enterprise level. Anyway, um, to go back into and to do it, and I'll show you guys here in a second because we can just open a room and do a simple type. So I don't want to um, have influence of the answer it already gives to if I need to reframe something. And that's really what we're looking at. How did we reframe it? Did we leave out a word? And Deb, you and I have talked about this so many times. What is a right word to frame it? And it's almost like you have to over explain it just a little bit, but the goal is to get the context that you're looking at. Howard, I noticed that you put in there that you use it for teaching. I'm sure there are so many different ways to teach how things go or how you want to present things, and I can see where it would be an absolute value for that. What other people do within this context is they make sure that things are going towards the actual end result of what they're looking for. You can give I prompts to the extent of I want to do something. And Deb, I actually put your prompts that you sent me in for fun, and we can kind of take a quick look at those. So let me share my screen.
Okay. One thing I want you to address, Will, is yes, if you're reading about AI, it's all about context. And as you said, you need to give it a lot of context. Where do you draw the line?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you give
Well,
it too much, it gets confused. I've read.
Yes, and it all depends on how you're giving it in the way that you're framing it. Sometimes it works really good, and I don't write AI code. My son's a programmer, so I have the distinct advantage of being able to ask him, if you were me, what would you do in this circumstance? And uh, I'm amazed at what this son I'm talking about is 20 years old, what they have in their head as far as what
Yeah.
AI can do for you and what it does is just flat out amazing. Um, I
Hmm.
often find myself going, where the heck did you learn that? How did you know that? Because I come up with some pretty advanced questions. And he says, well, Dad, I'm just in it all the time. And he's in these workshops and groups that talk about this stuff of people that are creating these things and how do they create them. So
Mm.
without going too deep down that avenue, uh, it depends. It's probably going to be my best answer. For the most part, just framing it right and making sure that you have the contextual aspects in a way that's laid out in an organizational fashion. That's probably the best way to get the
It,
results that
it,
you're looking for.
I'm sorry, but is there a sort of a list of things that you should consider when thinking about context that is
Well,
somewhat common to most prompting, or is it just so individualized?
it I hate to say that it's individualized. I mean, yes, there is some stuff and there is a variety of prompts, and I'll even show that. I got it pulled up in my Adobe reader for you guys to see that there's an enormous amount of prompting that you can do that are very specific to different conditions that you're looking to achieve.
Mm,
However, in
okay.
general, it's like it's trying to be more and more like having a conversation with another human. And while I applaud that, you can imagine the trials and tribulations that it must go through to get to that point. Um, I've never been involved in the absolute beginning beta testing. However, the public beta testing, I encourage anybody to get into if you're looking for the latest and the greatest of what it's doing and how it's working and how it will respond. It is beta testing, so there is a little bit of a learning curve that's involved both on the machine end and on the people that are developing it. There's also developer beta testing, which not too many of you would ever get into, but essentially there's a lot
Probably
of
not.
bugs. There's a lot of bugs and hiccups in the develop because what they're
Right.
trying to do is break it. And that's
Let me
really the
ask you
whole
this.
idea. Yeah.
Let me ask you, if someone is a casual user, let's say, would being a part of the beta testing be a good thing for them to really try to learn it slash stay ahead of it? Or if someone's really not using it, very regularly and really understanding it, should they not do that? And if beginners-ish should try that as a way of learning about it, how does one actually get involved in that?
Let me use probably the most simple analogy for this. So if you just learned to drive a car and you're typically driving a Toyota Tercel, just to call a car out, fairly easy car to drive. It's small, easy to park, easy to drive, easy to understand. It's not too big. You can understand your spatial awareness and all those things. I'm not going to next stick you in a Ferrari. Okay, that's what beta testing is all about.
Okay,
Um,
so
Now,
unless
not
you're
that you
really
couldn't
expert,
drive.
don't bother.
Well, I would say it's more caution is needed at that point. You know,
Okay.
you wouldn't send somebody out on the road that's just learning to drive. Although I'm giggling a little bit because it does happen a lot in BC. I've seen kids that are God, maybe 22, 23 years old driving around in a $400,000 car. It's like
Okay.
I highly doubt that you bought that yourself. And if you did,
Okay.
tell me your secret. Did you win the lottery? Did you create something that you resold to somebody that made you, $1 million or whatever? So,
Okay.
but when you get
Well, let's
into
get
when
back to let's get
well,
back
let
to
me let
the
me finish this thought. So when you get
okay.
back to actually doing something that is part of your base understanding, there's nothing but growing room. If you're diving into something where you don't understand the base understanding of it, you're going to struggle. So I
Mm,
recommend that everybody stay away from the beta testing until they've used it for a while. And if you used it for a while, take it for a little test drive, see how it works for you.
hmm.
Just remember that it is in beta testing and there is some hiccups.
That's a great analogy. Okay. So you said this was one that I had sent to you. It's someone from who registered. Do you want to talk about this example of using AI as a
Sure.
strategic thinking partner?
Sure. So the first part of it was framing it, paste rich context, and then asked to respond basically. And so I created this fake scenario that I'm looking to become an office manager in the Pacific Northwest. I didn't say where I was from. I didn't say any of that kind of context. Just I'm looking to do that, but I want a salary that will allow me to own my own home. So the decision, of course, I love how it tells us that it's understanding the decision that I'm facing. It's an attempt for it to be empathetic. So I kind of giggle at those things, ignore them, that part of it. Now, the big part is it gave me 5 questions, which is I specifically asked for it. First, restate the decision back to me and tell me what's really at stake in 4 to 5 bullet points. So in that,
And I'm sorry,
financial,
but why do you do that? I'm going to interrupt you with the demo because I want people
sure.
not just to hear your words, but to understand the thinking behind it. So why would you ask it to restate the issue?
Well, in this particular case, this was in the directions that you sent me. So that's why I asked it. Okay. So
Okay,
plain
but
and simple.
would you normally ask your prompt at the end? Would you normally say, let's make sure you understand this? Is that a good
Well,
step for people to take?
it can be. The thing about it is AI is growing at a faster pace than any of us could even come and comprehend. Once we
Yeah,
start to, and it's in everything. It's been in everything for 10, 15 years, but
right.
now it's just starting these large language models, which is what ChatGPT um, is are starting to become um, a database that's best described in a way that it's kind of like the computer on Star Trek. You ask it a question, it'll give you an answer. But the computer on Star Trek has been um, designed, of course, it's a television show, but it's been designed that it can interface much like you would talk to somebody in a room.
Hmm.
ChatGPT isn't like that so much yet, although it's quickly getting towards that direction. So in this
Sure.
particular case, I like the idea of restating this to give me 5 bullet points. So here's the 5 bullet points it gave, and it was very clear about what it was. And I like that aspect because it will teach you maybe what you don't know to ask. And so that's a really
Mm.
important piece as you're going through this particular one. Like I said, this is a completely fictitious scenario, so not everybody may relate to this, but that restating um, the reason it's telling me, and here's the reason that it's telling me, the decision that it's telling me, and then here is the area where it's giving me these 5 bullet points, which in a high level review are all pretty straightforward and answers I would hope that any friend would give me. You know, financial
Mm.
security, consider my relationship, consider the quality of life, the geographic flexibility versus opportunity, and personal fulfillment and autonomy. Those are all really good things. So, what I asked it next, and of course, this is going back to the prompt that you gave me, acting as a thoughtful, honest skeptic, don't be agreeable or flatter me. What's the 3 hardest questions I'm avoiding? And by the way, if people don't tell it not to do something, it may do it. In this case, these large language models are meant to agree with you. They're designed to
Hmm.
agree with you. And so this is why it
And
says that
flatter.
the and flatter. And I can't see it. Yeah, Chat GPT can make mistakes. Check important info. It says at the end of it's their little disclaimer with everything. So
Right.
in that, um, telling it not to be agreeable is actually a really good move, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Any questions
It
so
makes
far from
total sense.
anybody? Looks like I don't see any. Oh, I see a couple new chats that came in. Let's see if I do want to tell it to stop with the niceties, but I also done it to make to make it mad. Yeah. Uh,
Ah,
I always
that's
tell it to.
interesting.
Well,
So
Doug, you
somebody told me that you really should say please and thank you, and then someone else told me how much water that uses because the water is needed for the electricity, and how much water is needed, i.e., how much money it actually takes for the large language model to actually process please and thank you.
zero. Anybody that tells you other than that doesn't understand the technology. There's a
Oh,
lot of misinformation about these data centers are not the only thing that, and large language models is not the only thing at a database. These database centers that they're talking about, these are basically computer hubs, just like an electrical grid. When people started coming onto the electrical grid, people were concerned about so many things. And of course, I know that many of you may or may not be familiar with the story of,
mm.
Thomas Edison versus Tesla, and AC versus DC, and how that came, and the level that Edison, he actually tortured animals to try to prove that DC was a better technology than
Ooh,
AC.
ooh, ooh,
And it's
ooh.
it's it's an amazing jump down the history aspects of how technology gets and comes up. But anybody that's telling you that please and thank you is going to cost extra water and is going to cause so much extra electricity, they don't know what they're
Okay.
talking about.
I stand corrected. Let's
No.
continue on.
Well, yes, Doug, Sam Altman is a Sam Altman is kind of the godfather of AI, and he says that millions of dollars are wasted. You must take it with a grain of salt. Saying please and thank you, it's not wasting that much as Sam Altman would like to push out there. And
Okay.
mind you, Sam Altman knows a lot more than I do about this stuff, but I also know what's current. He was part of AI when it was first being developed back in the 1960s. So
Wow.
you can believe what you want. There's going to be 1,000 opinions out there on what it does. Um,
Absolutely.
I know people that are building these data centers, and the amount of, like I said, there's a lot of misinformation that's out there. Um,
Sure.
did we actually hear Sam Altman say it? I didn't. One could argue that did he really say it? I'm not saying that he didn't. More of did he really say that? Did he actually say those exact words? Until you see him say
Hmm.
it. And of course, there is deep fakes now. I watched something on Neil deGrasse Tyson the other day, and it was Neil deGrasse Tyson showing a deep fake of himself,
Uh,
where somebody had taken
wow.
his video, his likeness, it sounded just like him, and he was talking about how the world was flat in this video. You know,
Wow.
and
Okay.
this,
That
and then
is
he comes
cool.
on and he
I
said,
mean, cool
"This
that
is a deep fake." Yeah.
let's
So,
get back to your example here, okay?
yeah, let's get back to
Um,
the example for sure.
one thing
So,
I love about Will is he's got great stories, but let's keep to the the
let's
issue at
keep yeah,
hand.
yes, exactly. So basically, when I asked it this question, it gave me, is home ownership actually the goal, or is it standing in for something else? Um, Everybody understands the difference between skeptic and a skeptical person, and somebody who already believes that something's going to go bad, a cynic. Um, I
Mm,
work really hard on not being cynical. Cynical is a biased, I think, approach that makes it so there is, um, there's not there's not much room to wiggle around when you're a cynic, because you're already believing
hmm.
that something is going to be bad or is going to turn out wrong. Where skeptical, I believe, is always good. Like I said, you never know. Now, Doug, as a matter of fact, he makes a great point. Um, now, Doug, you said you read a quote from him 2 years ago, and without going too deeply into that piece of the conversation, keep in mind that's 2 years. You know what the data length of things are these days? 6 days. So how many 6 day periods are in 2 years?
Wow.
You know, and there's my skepticism for you. Um, I have a big skeptic mind because I know how easy it is these days for it to go somewhere else. So bringing us back and circling us back to this particular document, home ownership. It talks about, have you accepted your spouse's have you accepted your spouse's position as fixed without fully exploring it? I think a good question. Hopefully, most people have done that already by the time they're even considering a job that might have a relocation aspect to it. Are you trying to optimize for every major life value simultaneously? Enough salary, living in the Pacific Northwest, excellent work life balance. I mean, these are all the things that I said in my initial prompt. I want a life balance. That's really important to me. And
Right.
we operate
So that
back west. Let me just finish my thought here, Deb. So we work back west or out west here, very different than people do out east. Out east typically is a work to or a live to work, where
to
out
work.
west people are much more of a
Yeah.
work to live. Go ahead, Deb.
Work to live. Yeah. Oh, no, I was just going to say, so I just want to give people a clear understanding of the thinking of the human, as well as you showing us how the AI thinks as well. So the idea is you make your prompt, you put in enough context, and I still kind of want to drill down if there's any way for people to understand what is enough. But let's hold that off for a second. So you give it enough context, and then you say, don't flatter me. Don't just say I'm the most brilliant person for asking that question. Tell me what's real. And I think what you're saying now, what you're showing is, ask me questions that I perhaps didn't think about in terms of asking myself to come up with my decision. I don't think I said that very clearly. Help
Well,
me think
you said
about
it
things I
clearly.
wouldn't have thought of, right? Isn't that
Well,
what you're saying
yeah.
here?
So while you were talking, I basically said, what is enough prompting in my prompt for AI? If you're asking what is enough prompting for my prompt in AI, the answer is that enough is reached when the AI has the context it needs to produce the result you want without making important assumptions. Now, I like that it
Okay.
used that word assumptions because that's what you don't want it to do. That's where it starts hallucinating. If you're not giving it enough context for what you're actually talking about, it is going to try to still answer your question. And that's a problem. Um, uh, we don't want the hallucination rate to be higher than 5%. And right now, modern AI is somewhere around 0.5% to about 5%. And a lot of that
Of
depends on how
hallucination.
you prompt it and frame it.
Got it. Um, it tells you here, use prompt typically includes, a useful prompt includes these elements. What is your goal? What is the context? What do they mean by that? Why are you asking? And what background should the AI know? Okay.
So
Go ahead.
are
What were
you
you going to
reading
say?
my page? Is that
I'm,
what you're doing? Because I
I
don't know
am,
where you're
yeah,
at
I
on the
am.
page.
Sorry. I was just reading where your cursor is.
So you're reading right
Because I
here.
want people to, yeah, I want people to understand how they should be thinking about their prompts. Because, I loved your analogy of the cars. If people are having the right framework or the right base, that's going to make the response that you get so much better, more factual, more clear, and it's a better way to go rather than just jumping into a Ferrari.
Yes. And let me just respond to Doug real fast here. Doug, I appreciate you prompting in all these things, but no, we have a lot of people on the line right now, and this is being recorded for a bigger general audience. It might be best that you actually make an appointment and we have a session outside of here rather than a session with inside here. And because it's starting to move the conversation away from where our planned conversation is. Okay. No,
That
no
makes
need to
sense. And
apologize,
I
but
want to
I
be in on that
appreciate that.
call. I want to be in on
Yes,
that call.
absolutely.
I love
Absolutely.
learning from you.
Oh, thanks,
Okay.
Tim. You flatter me.
Well, that's why we're doing, but it's real.
So,
Do you
so
want
it
to
gives it,
show anything else?
well, it gives an example here where, for example, compare these. Too little is write me a marketing point. Enough is write me 150 for Facebook. And of course, it's naming Facebook. Whoops, naming Facebook in here for a landscaping company in Southwest Washington. So it's giving more complete context. If you're just write a marketing post, it could be doing just about everything
Mm,
and not understanding there's going to be a lot of assumptions made. And once again, that's a really big key to how we're talking about the assumptions that AI tends to make and where it does make its mistakes, and how it can seem to where it's not looking at the prompt that you're putting in, and it's moving away from the idea that it's giving you researchable and objectable answers. Not objectable, objective is what I meant. Answers to what
Right.
you're trying to get out of it. You know,
Okay.
so without going too deep into that, here's a perfect example. Write me a marketing post versus write 150 word Facebook post. I use this when I write blogs with AI, because I use AI to write blogs for me all the time. I come up with the basic concept and I spend about 20 minutes to a half hour pushing in the ideas that I want for a blog post. And then I tell it very specifics. I'm writing this for a blog post to be we're looking at 1,500 words if you want it to be cornerstone content. Anything above 900 words is cornerstone content for the search engines. You want definitely 300 as a minimum if you're writing a blog post. So if you're writing a short post or you're writing a long post, what's your intent of the post? Are you doing this as a lesson for somebody, or are you doing this really just to kind of share your knowledge because you want people to take out of it what they take out of it and hopefully connect up with you? So,
Hmm.
um,
Okay.
now the second prompt, let me just finish here, Deb. So notice that the second prompt gives you what to write, for whom, why, how long, what tone to use, and what the outcome is desired. That's where we know whether it's enough or not. Does that make sense?
Okay. It
So does
does.
that
That
answer
is
your question?
exactly what I was looking for. Yeah. That's exactly what I was looking for, because I want people to be able to walk away with a better understanding. And since context is so important in getting the best results, that's good. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
I
And
noticed the time. It's 11 after 6. And we'd said
yeah,
we were going to talk for till 6 and then take questions. So if I may, unless
sure.
there's something you're dying to show us.
No.
Um, okay. Well, you're gonna show
there's
some other stuff.
Well, this is way deeper than one session, which is why we originally designed it for 4 sessions. And so
Right.
what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep it focused on today's topic, which is how does AI work for you as a thinking partner? So
Right.
without getting too deep into this, and that's kind of why I spoke directly to you, Doug, and said, let's have a session outside of here, is because what we're trying to do is focus in on the important parts a little bit. I realize that we're about 40 minutes into it. Um, Frankly, I love this stuff, so I could talk for
Me
several
too.
hours, but
And we have.
and we definitely have, yeah,
We
we have a
definitely
hard
have,
time staying under an hour in our conversations for sure.
for
So that
sure.
being
But
said,
let's go
go
through
ahead.
some of these questions, okay? I noticed that Francine
Thanks, Mars.
twice at least asked, and it's not related to a specific what can I do or how can it be my thinking partner, but because she asked twice, I really want to just get an answer from you. And that is, are you saying that there are different types of artificial intelligence based on task?
Yes.
Let's just give a quick
The,
answer to that.
there's your quick answer. Yes, there are different types. Now, that being said, um, most of the ones that you would be interfacing with are going to be large language models. And that is, but if you were, and this is kind of leading back to the point that who was it I talking to, that Doug was talking about? It's AI. If you're looking to do coding, ChatGPT could code, but Claude's
Mm,
much better at it. Um,
for sure.
Images, all of them have had this huge update in early July about images and putting images together. But Gemini and ChatGPT kind of are holding, um, I think, the generalized best images that are out there in the creativity of that. There are, God, I would say at least 250 different large language models that are out there, some that are still in production and some that are at the
Wow.
top, Claude, Perplexity. Um, God,
Chat,
there's so many.
Gemini,
Yeah. And GPT
Copilot.
has become, well, Copilot's another one that's embedded within software. So while Copilot can be used separately, it's a Microsoft thing. And so this is
Right.
kind of Microsoft's and I think Microsoft actually has several different ones. I'd have to look again to see where they're at with that. But what happens in the technology world when they start building it, they build it layer upon layer. And then as those layers start to get, for lack of better ways, full or robust, they start development of things that could potentially work just outside that realm, but still have the basic framework. Because writing the framework for these things is the tough part. Making it
I
so
can
it
imagine.
works mathematically better, or so it works on developing code better, or so it works on developing image better, are all little pieces. And what ChatGPT is using the word plug-in for ways that you can do it. And as a matter of fact, let me just show you on a new chat here. When we go into settings, there are plugins. Now, these are plugins,
Right.
and these are just plugins for a developer to browse plugins. And if I put it on browse plugins here, it's going to show you. So I have all of these plugins installed with my Chat GPT. However,
And what's the
there's
purpose in general
a plugin
of having a plugin?
it's functionalities. That's what a plugin is. It's all about functionality. So as an example, I don't know if anybody else uses Calendly. I use it for I tie it into my calendar. I use it for all my booking. People can book online with me directly into my calendar. If anybody recognizes this one, this is HubSpot. HubSpot, it will help you create stuff. So as you're looking to respond to somebody, bam, it'll work and integrate into HubSpot.
Are you talking
Zoom,
about like an email?
an email. HubSpot is a CRM. So they do three main components. One is managing tickets for you. Like if somebody has a
Like a help
customer
ticket?
service issue, like a help ticket, and they have a sales end and they have a marketing end. And so within
Got it.
those three main headings, it starts to work down. Like I said, these are plugins to certain areas. They're not the full functioning thing. They're plugins to help you better operate on a business level. So, and I
Okay.
just wanted to show this because this is just the top of,
Wow.
developer tools. These are all plugins. And I could go down,
Wow.
I'm not sure we're getting 3/4 of the way down at the end of the page.
Oh my
There's
God.
finance, there's healthcare, there's travel, there's
I
entertainment,
know. I was
so
just going to say, I
anyway,
noticed somebody was asking about travel.
yeah, so like I said at the beginning, it's really important that you get back to the point to where you're understanding that it's not uh, you got to put the information in, and I do by going in and customizing my own personal profile. I've told it what I do, I've told it who I am, I've told it where my offices are, I've told it all the basic understanding. And of course, memory, like I said, was probably the biggest upgrade besides photos or images in all the language models at this point. So
Hi,
did
Howard,
you
the cat.
did you know you're a raccoon, Howard?
Yeah,
It
raccoon.
reminds me of a fun commercial. Anyway, so I'm going to open the floor up now because I think that we could just go on and on and on and get too deep. We already had a couple people that said they have to leave. If you want to ask a
Right.
question, I request that you unmute yourself and ask the question live. It is being recorded,
That's probably a good idea.
and if you don't
Just let's
mind
not get
being,
crazy. Someone starts
and
talking first. Try to let them finish. Not like I keep doing to Will.
so if we're in a place right now where you're going to ask a question, please turn on your video if you have one. I'd love to see your face while you're asking the question. Put a put
Good
a,
idea.
a voice to a face. Anybody? Hi, Kara.
Hi. So you plugged in a lot. And I'm curious, how do I make what should I use to make a decision on what to plug in?
What do you do, Kara?
I'm a coach.
Okay, be more specific.
I coach women earlier on in their career to find and create the life that they desire.
Okay,
So I
so
do scheduling, I do market, I do blog writing, I use Calendly, I use Canva, But like, how do I know? I know that Canva says, "Hey, you can like mate me with ChatGPT."
Yeah.
Great. Like, and if I do that, that's great. But then what? I go back to, it's kind of like speed dating. What do I get out of it? You
Yes,
know,
that's a great analogy. You know,
and do I want to see you again? Type of thing.
well, I'm not a Canva user, so I do know that a lot of people have a lot of success with Canva. I come from a marketing, PR, and communications background. I've been using things like Photoshop for 25 plus years at this point. So Canva to me is the entry level or layman's version of what I can do. It's really powerful. I do know that. I see some of the
Mm-hmm.
stuff that people create with it and they go, "Oh wow, that's a nice design." So if my understanding of things of that nature are correct, it gives you 2 or 3 opportunities. Sometimes it'll even quiz you before you go in saying, "Do you like this design or this design?" It's kind of like going to your eye doctor. What do you like better? Does it show this better or this better? And then it starts to understand you. And that's the whole purpose of it, asking these questions. Even though I was showing you literally 150 different plugins that it has, I only have about 10 to 12 plugged in because those are the things that I use on a regular basis. I haven't needed to use them with all of those plugins, but the idea of it being interfaced is what I was going for with that. Does that answer your question?
It does, because that's what I was curious as to. You can go and plug in with all the tools that you use, right? And but the thing is, my question is, what's my benefit from any one of those plugins that I do? Because, one little blip or one password change or one anything can then cause all
Mm.
sorts of drama. So that's what I'm, like before connecting, it's like how do I find out like what's the real benefit to me?
Well, I think, that that
Wait,
might
no,
be
I'm
a
sorry. Can I ask for
go ahead. Yeah,
clarification on that?
yeah.
Because I have this question after listening to you, Kara. It's sort of like you can use Canva and you can say, make me a beautiful image of blah, blah, blah. And what is the purpose of actually, in your words, Kara, marrying and something like a Chat or a Gemini or a Claude with some of these plugins? What makes it better to marry those two? Why have a plugin at all?
Okay, so let me answer that question by simply typing in. I typed in, what are the benefits of using a plugin with Canva? Using plugins called apps in Canva can significantly expand what Canva can do instead of downloading files, switching between websites, and uploading them. Plugins let you access specialized tools directly inside your design workflow. In basic layman speak, it's basically saying it expands its functionality for you.
Okay.
Well, and that's going to be different for each thing that you plug in. Because like my
Sure.
understanding of, all right, I use the plugin of Stripe because I want to collect money from a
Mm.
place, right? That's why I made that plugin. But you know, what am I getting if I plug in Calendly with chat? What am I think each one has a different relationship, and like
Absolutely.
how do I find out where that is and what that is?
Well, you know the functionality of Calendly, and you've described exactly what it is. It's to help you with your calendar. Essentially, somebody can go online. You don't have to expose your entire calendar, but you can expose when you're
Right.
available. I use this all the time. As a matter of fact, on looking behind the curtain and with a peek behind the curtain, I have three boys, and when they were younger, I scheduled their trips to and from school because I've been an entrepreneur for years, and my wife works for Edward Jones, the big financial people. It's different. Um, Nowadays it's a little bit different, but when they were growing up, I used it to schedule everything from I'm supposed to pick them up at lunchtime, or they're getting out for early. There's something going on with a parent teacher conference of some kind that's going on any particular days, and I block those out of my schedule because, as you might imagine, I run 4 companies now, and while I'm running these 4 companies, I can't keep it all straight in my head. And so I use technology to help me organize that. And that's really the key to it all. How do you organize it? And that's really what these plugins within ChatGPT are trying to do, is help you organize. If you're using Calendly, it'll help you organize that aspect. The actual plugin itself, I'd have to look into actually what it's going to do for you. I'm a technology guy, so I plugged a lot of these in to merely show as a demonstration to everybody here on this call. But there are things within the Chat GPT plugin environment that has allowed me to expand my Calendly. So when I push in schedule a meeting with me here, and I'm writing a social media post as an example, it will take everything into consideration because it's already part of my my workflow. In other words, it'll in some cases, it'll insert, when I ask it to, insert my Calendly link. It'll do it because it already has it. It doesn't have to sit there and go, oh, so what's your Calendly link? And before, it used to be to where you actually had to plug that into the prompt and say, here's your CTA kind of thing,
Call to action, in case anyone isn't in marketing.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a question that came in. That I want to just, I'm just looking at it right now. And this really is an example. Yes, Cara, thank you. I'm sorry. That was rude of me. Okay, you can get off camera now. So Renee says she's 42 and she's a marketing director. She was offered a big step up job to VP.
Okay.
It has lots of travel and possibly a relocation. A lot more money. Her kids are in high school or not in high school, they're just in school, it says. And she wants them to have a close relationship with their grandparents who live nearby. How does she go about using something like a chat to help make that thinking and strategic decision?
Okay, so
how would you go about that?
What was this lady's name you're talking to?
Renee.
So, Renee, are you? Do you have a camera? So can you pop your camera?
No, this came in actually right before we started.
Oh, as an email.
As an email.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, if anybody's not aware of it, and I use this all the time, you can speak directly into ChatGPT. So, let me actually share my screen again. So here we are in the share mode. So right next to where things happen, this is Grammarly. I don't know who uses Grammarly. I use it all the time. Makes me look smart. So you can dictate.
It corrects grammar for those who don't know.
Yes. So in this particular case, because it's connected all throughout my system and my workflow, if we press this is a dictation. So I'm going to ask it, I'm looking at taking a job. I'm 60 years old. It's going to be out of the area that I currently live. My kids love visiting their grandparents. They live around the corner. There's a significant boost in my salary and my benefits for this job. What is the first step I should look at in going and seeing whether this job has a good life-work balance? And I don't know if that's the exact one, Deb, but we'll see what it tells us here. Right. But there's a high-level summary, I think.
The important thing is you're thinking as the human in this process.
Correct.
And how you go about prompting this to get ChatGPT to be your strategic thinking partner.
Correct. Go. And since we've talked about contents, what's really important within this is that you don't want to give it too much information, because then it will start assuming things outside of your core focus. So focus on what your core question is. And you can see where I had a core question. It basically understood. Giving everything that you described, I would not make salary the first filter. At 60, you're making a decision that affects not just your finances, but your family's relationships, your health. Now, these are all things that you might be already thinking about. And so it's a sounding board, And so what we should tell this person back, and I don't know if you're emailing people back or how that's work. Hopefully they watch the video here and they see their question being answered. But basically, there's a simple list. Here's a simple list of the things that it's saying that you should do, um, dealing with career, family, lifestyle, and long-term goals. So that's the feedback that it's giving us for asking this very simple question. Do you think that's enough for
Well, I would say,
to
what
answer that
else would
question?
you, I mean, without reading the answer that Chat gave, this is a pretty important strategic decision, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to have, could you go back to the chat for a second? It seems to have basically, it is advising you to think about your decision in four different, with four different values, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And can you scroll down a bit? All right. So, so here it says, based on what you've shared, I'd also encourage you to ask yourself a difficult question, one difficult question. And that's actually interesting because it is an example of how chat can prompt you to think about something that you wouldn't have necessarily already thought of. At least you may have thought it, but you didn't write it, so chat wouldn't know that you thought it. And I think that that's very interesting in the idea of having this dialogue with chat, in getting you to think differently. That's the
Correct.
idea of it being a thinking partner, right?
You said a very important word. If you're prompting it and it's important, tell it it's important, or this is super important to me, or this is not as important as going swimming at the YMCA. I mean, whatever it is, that's the context that we're talking about in this particular session.
Okay, got it.
So I'm
All
going to
right.
stop sharing here
It
so I
is
can see chat. Go ahead, Tim.
It is 6:30. I'm happy to stay on a little longer if people have other questions. I'm not seeing the other questions. Oh, here we go. Gail. Gail says, I'm going to read this for everybody real quick. I think I'm a decent writer, but I find myself relying on ChatGPT for all sorts of written communication. I'm a bit older, so I don't mind using it for that purpose, and I can differentiate when I want to do the writing myself and when I want help. But I'm concerned that sometimes I'm losing my ability to, interesting. I'm losing my ability to struggle expressing my thoughts by taking an easier way out. How would you respond? Please ask this for me since I have to do something else here at the moment. I'm glad that it came up, Gail. Actually, can
Yeah,
I just say, I
yeah.
want to just say this because I'm such a big proponent of AI. I spend a lot of time and I do a lot of interviews about AI and helping people to understand it and having demos, etc. But I too sometimes feel like I'm taking the easy way out. And that actually kind of worries me. Yeah, I think in the same way that Gail was saying, like, am I losing my cognition ability? Am I being lazy? How do you differentiate those two things?
You know, this is something that comes up in psychological circles, and
Mm,
people cautioning, um, at some level. Or I'll finish that sentence. People are cautioning people to become too wrapped up in chat gpt because they say that, if you're not thinking for yourself, you're being lazy. Are you being lazy, or are you utilizing the tools that are before you? So, and I'll just
mm,
use a carpenter as a good example. Back when buildings used to start being built, before they actually made hammers, what did they hammer nails with? Rocks. Okay. So
okay.
as somebody has a hammer in their tool belt, are they being lazy because they have a hammer and not using a rock? No, they're just
Oh,
using a better tool.
I love that analogy.
Now, that being
Yeah.
said,
Okay.
yes, I use it and notice that myself. Um, Gail, I think it's really important, since you and I are the same age. We look at stuff, we start thinking about our life and how it's gone. Are we losing, like you said, Deb, that cognitive ability to really process and ask the questions? Well, I think where we've come with this is we're not getting lazy. We're getting more and more like, oh, I can ask Chat GPT. We're pulling up a better hammer. We're pulling up a better
Okay.
tool. Now, that being said, have you lost your cognition? Play, Sudoku. or crossword puzzles. Your brain is like any muscle in your body. And so to say that it doesn't affect you, I think is a complete overstatement. But to say that it makes you lazy, I wouldn't agree with that statement at all. It makes you more informed. It makes you more efficient. I can do things within a half hour that used to take me 3 hours to do. So how much value do I place on the time allowed in my day to do things? When I'm looking at my wife coming, getting off work at 5 and, oh, holy crap, I need to go make dinner, and Deb, you and I have had these conversations right up against that deadline. Now I don't use,
Yes.
ChatGPT in those particular scenarios as much as one potentially could. But if I'm writing a blog post or I'm looking to do something, or even I do it this way, sometimes I have an idea and I just get the idea out, and I use voice to text typing all the time. So I write this voice to text thing, I'm looking to write a post for blah, blah, blah. I want it to be at least 400 words. I want it to do this. I want it to do that. And I get the idea out of my head. Otherwise, it's not unlike me to lose that idea because I'm on to the next television channel that's changing in my head. I don't know if anybody else on this call has ADD, but I was diagnosed with ADD when I was very young. This is why I use my calendar. This is why I use things like Calendly. It makes it super simple. Somebody wants to book time with me, instead of going back and forth, it's much more efficient to send them a link and have them answer that question. Just as, Cara was talking about, it's really important. Now, Gail, you as a writer, I write stuff all the time, both for clients and both for me personally. As a matter of fact, you can prompt chat to actually write 30 days worth of prompts for you. You could tell it to make it concise. You can tell it to do, so you can make it work within your workflow. Now, that's another thing that you could potentially use for the Canva plugin. Say in Canva, I want to do this, blah, 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 and it will interface with Canva and create, because you have your account tied to it. You can't use the plugin without most of these, by the way, without signing in. I think that's what you were referencing to, Cara, when you said you change your password and your whole world goes to hell.
For sure.
So you can.
It's 12:36 already, so I want to invite everyone to send me an email if you have questions right now that didn't get answered, and or if you have questions that come up. I will send them to Will, and I'm actually, what's the expression? I'm sort of putting the cart before the horse, I guess, because I'm suggesting, without asking you first, that perhaps you can get back to everybody with some kind of an answer, at least.
Well, I can.
When you have time.
Let me do this. Let me also put in a link to where people can schedule time into my calendar. It's just a 20-minute slot, and if we need to have more time, we can actually schedule that time. I'm not expensive.
That's a good
idea. But I do charge for my time. But this is a 20-minute complimentary, free. Let's talk about what the basics are of what you have on your plate, and we can go through that. So there's my phone number and all that information. And here is my Calendly link for a discovery chat, what I call them. And that way we can have a little 20-minute discovery meeting at no cost to you.
That is very generous of you. I really appreciate that. Let us talk very quickly, super quick, about next week. Next Tuesday at the same time, we're going to be talking about a different aspect of how to use chat, a different use case, and we're going to talk more specifically about marketing, which is Will's sweet spot. So with that, again, I want to thank you all for coming. And Will, amazingly, thank you. You're just such a wealth of knowledge, and we could spend hours and hours. But yes, I love that you're letting everyone at least connect with you for a little bit of time at no cost. Take advantage of that. He knows a lot. And please do show up for the next session, which is 1 week from tonight at 5:30. And Will, please remind me, because I actually don't remember, if they've already registered for this session, that automatically makes them...
It'll be the same link for next time.
It's the same link. Okay, that's what I thought. But I just didn't want to make a mistake on that. So yes, you can use the same link for next week and the other 2 weeks. And thank you, everyone. And thank you for putting stuff in the chat and participating. That's really
Yes.
nice that you're engaged in that way.
And Deb, are you
That's
sending this back out to everybody?
I will be. Everyone who
Yes.
registered.
Perfect.
So those that
Awesome.
couldn't make
Thanks,
it,
Judy. Thanks,
they will get
Carol.
it. Thank
Okay,
you.
everybody have a fantastic week. Since we're only on Tuesday, onward we
Yep.
go.
Yep. And keep practicing with AI. Thank you,
There
everyone.
you go. Okay, talk to you
Bye-bye.
later. Bye, Dev.
See ya. Bye.